In this video, we're going to be breaking down the 4 pillars. 4 things that every successful candle business, big or small, has to have working for them. We're going to talk about each one independently, and here's something I want you to do as we go along. After each pillar, I'm going to ask you to score yourself a little bit of a self-assessment on a scale of 1 to 5. Keep those scores in your head because at the end of the video, we're going to talk about those scores. We're going to look at those 4 scores together, and you'll know exactly where you stand and exactly what you should be working on first. By the way, as a business owner, none of these are going to be perfect across the board. We're always working to improve something, at least one or multiple pillars in this foundation. And I'm going to ask you to share those scores down in the comments because I like to read them. I like to see how people are doing, what struggles you all are encountering, what things that maybe future videos might help towards. And also on this channel, we'll dive into some of these other pillars in more depth. So if you are struggling, it's good to see what you're struggling with. So I have some better insight on what we should be focusing on here on the channel. All right, so pillar 1, and I'm starting here because honestly, if this one isn't right, none of the others really matter. And I guess you could say that about all of them, but you can have the most beautiful brand, most slickest packaging, a loyal following, great customer service, and if the candle itself doesn't perform, it all falls apart. One of the hardest things to do in any business is to get a customer. Once you have the customer, it's important to keep them because it's easier to keep a customer than it is to get a new one. But if your candles don't perform, or your soap doesn't perform, or your room sprays, or any other handcrafted products you make, if they don't perform, you may have got the customer, but you'll immediately lose them just as fast as you got them. And then you have to work and spend more time and effort to get another one to replace them. So let's focus on pillar number 1, product mastery. How to make great products. Start by picturing this. Someone buys your candle. Maybe it's a gift. Maybe they've been eyeing it for weeks. They get home, they light it, they're excited, and it tunnels. Or it just doesn't burn right. Or maybe it's smoking all over. Maybe name any number of problems. But it's not what they expected. Or maybe the scent throw isn't there. It's so weak they can barely smell it across the room. That's not just a bad candle. That's a lost customer. Probably forever. So what does product mastery actually look like? Well, it starts by knowing your materials. Not just by picking a wax because it's popular or because someone told you to, but understanding why different waxes behave different ways. Why soy burns differently than paraffin, which burns differently than coconut, and so on. Why might a certain blend of fragrances give you a better scent throw? Why might a better wax and wick combination perform better than another? What your melt point might mean for you in your finished product. And then there's fragrance loads. This isn't guesswork. There's science for all of this. For example, how much fragrance oil can your wax hold versus how much is ideal? And then there's wicking. And this is where I see a lot of people struggle. If you've been in this industry for more than 3 days, you know that wicking is one of the biggest struggles. Your wick isn't a one-size-fits-all like a lot of hobbyists just starting out think it might be. It has to match your specific container, the diameter, your specific wax, the fragrance amount, the fragrance type, even the material your jar is made out of. All of these affect how the candle burns, how the wick performs. So you might get tunneling, you might have a wick that's too large, you might get soot, you might get smoke, you might get no scent throw. There's so many other things that it could be. Getting it right takes testing, real testing, multiple burns, tracking results, adjusting, rinse and repeat, and do it all again. Not just a single burn and then calling it good. And then everyone's favorite topic, safety and compliance. Like proper labeling, understanding laws, understanding fire safety and standards. This isn't optional. This is what separates, again, a product that you can stand behind from a liabilities perspective, but also from a confidence perspective. A hobbyist might skip this stuff because it just feels tedious and they're just doing it for themselves and friends and family. But regardless of scale, it's extremely important. And a real business owner understands that this is a non-negotiable. So here's the bottom line on pillar 1. Someone just starting out, or I'll even say a hobbyist in general, just kind of makes the products that they feel like making and hope it works. And if it's good enough for them, then it's good enough. But a business owner understands that it's not just hoping it works or hoping it's good enough for them. They know it works and know it's good enough for others every single time. So real quick, give yourself a score 1 to 5 on how you feel like you are doing on product mastery. Just drop it in the comments. There's no wrong answer, but be honest. We'll come back to this later on in the video. Also, before we move on to pillar 2, because we obviously just overviewed pillar 1, which is a huge topic in itself, actually several big topics in itself. So on this channel, we break down a lot of these other topics. So if you're not already subscribed, subscribe, hit the little bell, turn on notifications. Let us know what else you want us to focus on, but also just check out the catalog. We've got over 250 videos at this point that dive into different topics. Also join our Facebook groups and so on. Go to the website at blacktiebarn.com. We help with educational resources and we provide raw materials to help you make great products. That is wicks, candle dyes. We have the best selection of fragrances out there, high quality, without breaking the bank, and soon we're going to be rolling out waxes and other products as well. So if you need help with Pillar 1 product mastery, come see us. Now, with that being said, let's move on to now, Pillar 2, this is where things start to get a little interesting because most people think branding is just about having a pretty label, and it's so much bigger than that. Your brand is the entire experience someone has with your business, with your product start to finish, before they even buy, during, and after. And it's the feelings that drive repeat purchases. Remember, these days, people can buy products anywhere from any shelf at different price points. You have to stand out in some way or another. That could be your product, that could be your branding, that could be your customer service. There's a number of factors. That could be your price, and all of these are important, and we'll talk about all of these in these different pillars. But when it comes to this pillar, marketing, branding, tell a story, and it creates a feeling, and makes your customers and want you to keep providing them a product. They want to keep coming back. So here's a scenario to think about. 2 candles, same scent, same burn time, same price. One comes in a plain jar with a printed label that looks like it took 5 minutes to make from someone who's just starting off. Now, I'm not saying any of this, by the way, to be offensive or to put anyone's products down. We all start somewhere. You should see the first labels we ever made, the first candles we ever made. I mean, it's kind of comical, man. I look back and I'm like, I was like at that time I was super proud, but at every stage you should be super proud because you develop and there's progression. But the point being here is that when you first start off, you're making very, very basic labels. And I shouldn't even say basic, clean, modern, that's an actual style, that's a vibe. I'm just saying, spend time on this. Don't rush this part by making just very, very generic labels that looks like you threw together. Don't make labeling an afterthought. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Make sure you actually have intention on this part of the business, on this part of the branding. So let's go back to comparing these 2 candles. They're the same. You got one that has a label looks like no one cared about when they made, and then you have another label that comes through and it looks like it was thoughtfully chosen. Maybe it's the packaging. The label feels intentional. Maybe even through a handwritten note inside, which is easier to do when you're smaller. There's so many things you can do to stand out when it comes to packaging and branding. It's the same candle, right? But completely different experience. So which one's going to get the 5-star review? Which one's going to be memorable? Which one's going to leave a mark on your customer? Which one might get shared on Instagram? Which one might get shared on TikTok? And then there's the brand story. It starts with knowing why you exist, why your company exists, why you make the products you do. Not, I just make candles, I just make soaps, I just make room sprays and reed diffusers, right? Your brand story is what you do and why you do it. What's the feeling you want someone to have when they burn one of your candles or use one of your bars of soap? What does your business stand for? That answer becomes the foundation for every decision that you make. Your packaging, your colors, your voice, how you show up on social media, all of it should connect back to this, to your brand story. And then there's the visual side, which we already touched on, and this matters much more than people realize. Although I think these days people are starting to really appreciate this more than they used to. But consistency when it comes to the visuals is everything. Your label, your packaging, your website, your Instagram, they should all look like they belong to the same family, the same company. When someone sees your product on a shelf or scrolling through a feed on social media, that recognition builds trust, and that trust turns browsers into buyers. All right, so as part of the theme of this video, if we're going to continue to compare sort of a handcrafted hobbyist versus a business owner, it's pretty clear. A hobbyist will pick whatever looks nice in the moment, whatever they're kind of feeling, but a business makes intentional decisions that build a recognizable, cohesive brand over time. One is reacting, the other is building. And customers can tell the difference, even if they can't articulate why. So remember this, people don't just buy candles, people don't just buy soap, they don't just buy room sprays. They buy how your product makes them feel. So again, give yourself a score, 1 to 5 in the comments below on your brand identity. How intentional and consistent is your brand? Actually, keep these numbers in your head, give yourself a score, 1 through 5 on each of these pillars, and then drop them in the comment, and let's see how everyone does. All right, so we're on to pillar 3, which is operational efficiency. And I want to start this one a little bit differently because when most people hear operations, they immediately start thinking paperwork, spreadsheets, all this stuff that feels like the opposite of why they started making candles or soap in the first place. But here's the truth. This is the pillar that actually buys you back time. Get this right, and everything else will get easier as your business continues to grow. Get it wrong and you'll burn out, or you'll make things so complicated and so chaotic that it's going to be harder to scale and get to where you want to go. Here's what being overwhelmed looks like when it comes to a candle business or any handcrafted business. You get a big order, exciting, right? But suddenly you're scrambling because you don't have enough wax to make the product or enough fragrance oil. You make the product, but you don't have enough packaging materials to box it up and send it. And you're not sure how long it's going to take to even get the materials in. make the candles, and then cure. You haven't figured out your pricing properly, so you're not even sure if it's making money. That's not a business problem, though. That's a systems problem, and the good news is systems are fixable. So it starts with how you actually produce your products. Batch pouring candles instead of making them one-off, for example. Repeatable processes so that every product comes out consistent every time. When you build a system around your production, you stop reinventing the wheel every single time and feel like you're starting from scratch. You get faster, you get more confident, you get more consistent, and you can actually start to think about scaling without it feeling terrifying. I can tell you through personal experience that our business has grown over the last 15 years just exponentially, and it continued to grow almost year after year. But I would say about 5 or 6 times over the last 15 years, we had significant increases or growth in our business from a year-to-year period. And certain things we had great systems in place for. And so we're able to make that adjustment on the fly and scale quickly with no problems. In other areas, we weren't quite ready. The growth came out of nowhere and sort of surprised us. And in certain aspects, we had to quickly adapt and make some changes to get to that efficiency that we were used to. And every company is going to go through that, by the way. That's not a bad thing. They're called growing pains for a reason. It's learning from that, it's adapting, and it's doing what you can in advance to try to prepare for that so it doesn't surprise you. And then it's about having systems in place that help you get through these scaling and growth pains, right? So that's the idea of this pillar: scaling, systems, and efficiency. Now, part of this is inventory, and this one sneaks up on people, especially those that are just starting out. Running out of your best-selling fragrance oil right before the holiday season, significant problem. Overbuying a wax when you end up not using it, a significant problem in a different way. That affects cash flow. The other one affects sales. Both of these cost you, it's just in different ways. Knowing what you have, what you need, and when to reorder, it isn't glamorous unless you're sort of a nerd like me and you kind of like that, but it's the difference between a business that runs smoothly and one that's constantly feels like it's in a crisis mode. And then there's pricing, and I cannot stress this enough. You have to know your numbers. Not just your material cost, but your time, your overhead, your packaging, your shipping, all of it. Because if you're pricing for sales instead of for profit, you're basically running a very, very, very busy hobby. Now, there are times when you're going to just try to get more traffic, more visibility, more awareness. So you might run sales, or you might have limited time pricing, or you might have introductory pricing. There's several strategies when it comes to growing a business, when it comes to pricing. We're not going to get into those details, although I do have pricing video, very in-depth pricing video on this channel. But it's, as a general rule, when your product you're pricing for its normal pricing, because even if you generate those sales, if it's not priced for profit properly, has a lot of P's, then the sales won't matter. You're still going to end up having to shut down the business because you'll run out of cash. So a business prices to sustain itself and grow, where you know your margins, you make better decisions about everything. What products to focus on, what to discontinue, where to put your energy, and so on. And then it comes to your time, your effort, and what you're able to put into the business as well, which is very important as a small business owner. So here's the line that I want you to remember. A hobbyist can work whenever they want, whenever they feel like it. A business owner runs on systems. And look, building those systems isn't always fun, again, unless you kind of like that. But it's honestly where most people quit, because it just stops feeling as creative and it starts feeling like work. But that's okay. Like, you're starting a business. Involves work. It just happens to be work you enjoy doing. And isn't that kind of everyone's goal? But this is also exactly where real businesses are born. So give yourself a score, 1 to 5, when it comes to operational efficiency. And again, be honest with yourself on this one, on all of them. It tends to sting a little sometimes, but let's be honest and let's share the results here at the end of the video. And I'm genuinely curious where everyone's struggling the most or where people are doing super well. And it really helps generate some more ideas for this channel. All right, we are on to pillar 4, which is customer relationships. And this is the one that keeps businesses alive and running long-term, because you can have an incredible product, beautiful brand, smooth operations, and if you're not building customer relationships, you're leaving the most valuable part of your business on the table. Your customers are not just transactions, they are your growth engine. So here's what I want you to picture. Customer orders from you for the very first time, whether it's a candle or a bar of soap that they bought for you. It smells beautiful, it performs incredibly well. If it's a candle, it burns perfectly. They're happy, but then nothing. Crickets. No note, no follow-up, no reason to come back. Compare that to the same customer who opens their package and finds a small handwritten note, or maybe an email with a discount on their next order, or just a follow-up email asking how they enjoyed their product and asking for a review. Maybe just a genuine thank you. Same candle, completely different relationship. One of those customers buys again, the other one might, they might not. The human element is what separates forgettable versus memorable. Like I said, whether it's handwritten notes, thank yous, asking for a review, asking for a share, asking for their feedback, just thanking them as a customer, asking for a follow-up, whatever. The key is remembering that they're a customer and you want them to be a repeat customer. Responding to a comment, a DM like a real person, not a brand robot. These things cost almost nothing and they build loyalty that no marketing budget can possibly buy. People want to feel like they matter to you, to your brand, because, well, they actually do, right? They matter to you more than you matter to them. So your goal should be to keep them happy, keep them loyal as a customer. Plus, they matter even more than that because they could tell other people about you as well. And then there's the community element, right? Your social media isn't just a place to post product photos, right? It's where you let people into your world, whether this is your Instagram page, your TikTok, your private Facebook group, or your business page on Facebook. Behind the scenes, your process, it's the story behind a new scent, the mistakes you made when you were working on a new product, things you learned about starting and running a business or making your products. People don't just fall in love with candles and bars of soap. They fall in love with the person behind it, the person making them, the company behind it, the real person that they can relate to, right? So that connection is what turns a follower into a customer and a customer into a loyal advocate for your brand going forward. And like I just touched on, repeat buyers, this is where the math gets really good for you. Acquiring a new customer costs you time and money. Now, how much that customer costs you will depend on several factors, and it'd be different for everyone. If you run paid ads versus other outlets, there's ways to attract customers and they all have different costs. But acquiring a new customer costs time and money. A repeat customer already trusts you. You've already got them the first time. They already love your product. Getting them to come back is far easier and infinitely cheaper than finding someone new to replace them. So every touch point, every interaction, every order, every response is an investment in a relationship. Treat it like one. That'll go a long way. You know, your first sale is exciting. It's exciting for everyone. But the truth is anyone can get one sale. It's your second sale. That's where your business really begins. That's proof that what you built is working and that your customers like it. So when it comes to pillar 4, customer relationships, score yourself once again, 1 through 5. How intentional are you about building a real connection with the people who buy from you? Now I want you to picture a whole scenario again for me. Picture a candle business where the product is so dialed in that customers rarely complain. They just reorder. And where the brand is so consistent and recognizable that someone sees it as a friend's house and immediately wants to know where they can get it. Where the operations run so smoothly that a big order comes in and it doesn't cause panic, it causes excitement. And where customers feel so connected to the brand that they're not just buyers, they're advocates for your brand. They're telling other people about you without ever being asked. Well, that business does exist. It's not a fantasy, but it doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen with 2 or 3 pillars in place. It happens when all 4 are working together. Because here's what I've seen in my experience. You can have the most beautiful brand in the world, but if your product isn't consistent, customers don't come back. You can have incredible products and loyal customers, but if your operations are a mess, you'll hit a ceiling eventually that you can't break through, and it might cost you your business. Every pillar holds the others up. Weaken one, and the whole structure will feel it. And that's what this whole video really comes down to. There's a difference, a real meaningful difference between just making candles and building a candle business or any handcrafted business. One is a passion. The other is a foundation, a future. The 4 pillars that we just talked about, that's what a real foundation looks like. All right, so we're at the point now where if you've been scoring yourself this whole video, product mastery, brand identity, operation efficiency, and customer relationships, 1 to 5 on each one. So here's my question. Which pillar are you the strongest in right now? And more importantly, which one have you been sort of avoiding? Because the one that you're avoiding is probably the one that's holding everything else back, and you should be addressing first. So let me know. Drop your scores in the comments right now, all of them. Be honest, and I'll read them. These scores are literally going to shape what we dive into in future videos on this channel, so please don't skip this step. And also, if you're eager to go deeper on some of these topics we've already addressed, I'll leave a couple videos here on the screen. One of them goes into sort of the blueprint of kind of starting a candle business, right? And then if you've already seen that one and you want some inspiration, here's Here's another one about a soap company that started small and is basically built a soap empire. Both are great videos, and if you want to check out either one or both, I'll have them up on the screen here at the end. But if you're serious about building your candle business the right way, and again, this applies to any handcrafted business, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. We go deep on this stuff pretty regularly, and every video we put out is built to actually move the needle for you, to really help you out. It's not fluff, it's not filler, it's actual real help. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next one.